and welcome to the Morning Journal. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Rachel. Before we begin the show, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wurundjeri people, and pay our respects to elders both past and present. We also extend our acknowledgement to elders from other communities who may be watching today.
We've got a lot coming up today. If you'd like to track us and follow on, we're on Instagram and Twitter at The Morning Journal, and you can also follow us at upstart.net.au, and we're also on the big screen of the Agora. If you're outside in the morning getting ready to study, we're there.
Yeah, I'm so excited for today's show, but for now, let's go to Scarlett with the headlines.
Thanks for that. Ahead of the May budget, the federal government has pledged $500 million to the preservation of the Great Barrier Reef. The funding will go towards breeding a more resilient coral to live in the reef and reducing pollution in the area. Also, a large sum of money will go into improving water quality, such as improvements into farming practices. The previous drafts of this same $500 million budget have been criticised in the past for not committing to the larger issue of global warming. Criticisms of the pledge are concerned that the reef cannot sustainably adapt to drastically changing climates in the future. It is the largest sum of funding to go into reef protection in Australia's history. Australian schools need to crack down on improving academic results for Aussie kids. 23 major changes have been suggested to overhaul Australia's education system after the Gonski report revealed concerning data. The recommendations were made by businessman David Gonski in the second review of the Australian school system. Academic performance has been on a decline since 2000, and the recommendations are designed to be implemented to reverse that. He proposes that the changes happen quickly over the next 5 years with a focus on individual achievement and rewards for teachers to gain incentive. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull says that it isn't just about securing growth in funding for that area, but that the curriculum must undergo an overhaul to bring it to a current international standards. In world news, positive steps forward as the unprecedented Korean summit agrees on the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. North Korean's Kim Jong-un has told South Korean leader Moon Jae-in that he will be closing the nuclear test site in May of this year. The South Korean presidential office also relayed that the US and other Western media groups would be allowed to access the closure of the site on North Korean soil. Kim and Moon both agree that the global community, as well as the US, has applied pressure to ensure that a safe outcome is reached for the two long-lasting counterparts. And protests continue in Spain as the wolf pack, consisting of 5 men who raped a woman, are passed down to lesser sentences from Spanish courts. The 18-year-old girl was attacked by the group of men in their mid-20s 2 years ago at the Running of the Bulls festival. The men were given the charge of sexual abuse rather than sexual assault, which is a far lesser sentence and certainly not enough for many in Spain. Activists rallied in Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Pamplona, and Alicante. An online petition has also gathered more than 1.2 million signatures. And finally, a paddleboarder has had a run in with nature in Western Australia. A pod of dolphins are trying to snatch up a school of fish when they catch a wave. One of the dolphins jumps out of the water to collide with the paddleboarder, Andrew Hill. Mr. Hill says that he is winded but happy with the run-in with the dolphin overall. And that's all that we have for news today.
That's such a great story.
That's so funny. Love it. We're going to have a look at what's coming up next in the show. So let's see what we have in store for you today.
Coming up on the Morning Journal, we speak with our Woman of the Week, Monique Mastrobatista, a young teen that is making a difference with her book, My Discreet Bully. Jasmine heads over to the Pop Culture Expo, Supernova. Rachel goes to Lord Smith Animal Hospital. Scarlett attends the Williamstown Anzac Dawn service. We have a great show, so stay tuned.
Okay, so I'm so excited for today's show. It looks amazing.
I am very excited too. Now we're going to have a look at Scarlett, who did some work at the Anzac Day service. So let's have a look at what you got up to.
Looking out from the cenotaph statue over Port Phillip Bay, the Melbourne city glowed on the horizon as the residents of Williamstown remembered those who had fallen at the Anzac Day dawn service. Willie's community spirit was bittersweet as the former committee members of the recently foreclosed RSL paid their respects to diggers past and present. Despite the lack of funds and resources, the dawn service was able to go ahead, drawing together a strong attendance.
We're from 418 Squadron at Point Cook. We are Australian Air Force cadets and we come down here every year. For me personally, I've had family. My grandfather was in World War II. Having that connection, I suppose, makes it all the more special to be able to stand up the front and commemorate those that have fought for Australia and continue to do so.
Playing the bugle for the powerful last post was Jim Millman.
I felt as if my heart was in my mouth when I was about to play. What really eased my mind was I'm serving a whole community of people, and that really put me at ease. The difference between playing a trumpet and playing a bugle, well, a bugle has no valves, which actually makes the job a lot easier in a way.
The event was supported by a limited budget provided by local businesses and was pulled off by sponsors and a passion for the cause. The Hobsons Bay Sailing Club also provided its facilities for a gunfire breakfast after the ceremony. The RSL property was originally gifted by the Red Cross Society almost 150 years ago, but in recent years had accumulated a $3.5 million debt, forcing the sale of the building and the land in 2017. Williamstown has played a significant role in the Australian military throughout history. The dockyard was one of Australia's main shipbuilding yards. It constructed over 40 warships, including the HMAS Castlemaine, which completed around 190,000 kilometres of war service before taking its current place on Gem Pier, where it is now open to the public.
I work on the Anzac ships, the 5-inch gun, and I'm currently posted down at a place called Flinders, and that's my role in the Navy. It's something that I can't really put into words. I've actually had the opportunity to go to Gallipoli. I was there in 2015 on HMAS Anzac. It's kind of like a very sombre moment.
I think it's a really beautiful thing to bring new generations in to learn about it, even though they weren't there to experience it.
As Willie remembers those who were lost, they share the accomplishment of camaraderie and togetherness in the true spirit of the Anzacs. This has been Scarlett Maloney for the Morning Journal.
I always go to the dawn services. I go to my local one in Doreen and I always find it so breathtaking. I feel like it's really important.
I've never been to one.
You've got to go.
You've really got to get around it.
Yeah.
If you're you didn't have to go for school at any point?
No, but never. But we always used to acknowledge it, and I remember a lot of the teachers would wear like the
poppies.
The poppies
Yeah.
on Anzac Day. But I've never gone to a service.
It's beautiful.
It'd be a very emotional, very sentimental sort of thing to go to.
I actually went to the Gallipoli service in Turkey, in Gallipoli. There was 7,000 people there, and it was a dawn service. Oh. It was really, really good, although I did fall asleep during the service because I didn't get an opportunity to sleep because there were 7,000 people around me. So it was finally quiet when the service was on, so I sort of just dozed off accidentally.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, my friend went to a service, the dawn service this year, and he was saying that a couple of the elderly people were fainting during the morning. I think it's because you're standing for such a long time.
Yeah.
You do stand for a long time, especially if you go into the one in the city, which I've been meaning to go to. That's the one that I really want to go to. And yeah, you get there so early, and then if you want a good spot, obviously, but then you'll be standing for 2 hours, 2-3 hours, depending how long it takes, and it's always a really big crowd. Yeah. And they had the 100 years last year or the year before, I think, and they filled all of Fed Square with these hand-stitched poppies, and it was so stunning. Wow. It was really, really beautiful.
Poppies are such a beautiful flower. Gorgeous flower.
Very moving. It's a very important part of Australia. So too is the Great Barrier Reef.
True. Yes.
Which
true.
I was pretty stoked to hear about some funding going into that beautiful piece of Australian, well, I would say land, but it's underwater, but it's just, it's sea. Yeah, it's such a precious little ecosystem and such a diverse ecosystem, and unfortunately it is under, it's very endangered at the moment from coral bleaching. Have you guys heard much about this?
Yes. Well, I've seen over the years, obviously, it's a huge topic about how kind of destroyed the area is. And if you look at the before and after photos of the reef, photos taken, 20, 30 years ago compared to photos now, it just looks pale. Like the coral looks pale and dead, basically.
So sad.
And so it's amazing to find out that there's this funding going towards it, and hopefully they can repair that ecosystem.
So I wasn't too sure exactly what coral bleaching was specifically, but apparently it's when the coral loses its actual pigment, and what's exposed is the stark white skeleton underneath. So I thought it was changing colour, but actually it was losing its colour and becoming transparent on the exterior and then white on the inside.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. There's been a man going to the coral reef only over the past 5 years to just track over a 5-year period how the coral bleaching, how bad it is, and it's been getting progressively worse and worse and worse, and just so rapidly that I guess it comes into question whether $500 million can really fix it.
We hope
Or,
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
like I said,
Yeah.
or if climate change has done too much and will continue to do too much to affect the reef. What do you guys think?
I think that it's kind of damaged beyond repair. I feel like they can do a lot to help it, but the tourism industry has just gone so far that there's boats and people out there every single day.
Yeah.
They're swimming, they're standing on the coral, and they've got all sorts. There's rubbish, and so it's, for me, like, I have a very strong opinion about this, but I feel as if it has gone too far, and I feel like the $500 million would have been good, 20 years ago, but at least, they're taking it on board now. They're bringing in these changes and they're going to try and help the reef because it's so important. It's such a beautiful area. And it's to me, I signed a petition last year about trying to save the reef because they were thinking of, I can't remember exactly, but bringing all of these boats through there.
Yeah, they were going to make like an embankment in the reef for the Adani mine, I think, to have access there for transportation overseas of coal, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it was for coal.
Yeah. Well, I know, thank God they're not doing that, but really, like you were saying, maybe it's a little too far gone. And what I'm concerned about is the federal government using this pledge to boost their popularity for the May budget that they're about to release as sort of a face for looking environmentally concerned. And they very well might be environmentally concerned, but I don't I just hate when they take serious issues and politicize them.
Use it for their own gain.
Yeah, for bait for people to go, good on the federal government.
Yeah.
When this could have been passed a long time ago. They were doing drafts of this bill in 2016 and it's 2018 now. And over that 5-year period, the coral bleaching has been getting worse and worse. So
it's unfortunate. Well, hopefully we can fix it with this new plan. Thanks for that, Scarlett.
No worries.
We'll now look into Kate's entertainment talk and see what she's got in store for us.
Hello and welcome back to Entertainment Talk. This week I saw the new Blumhouse horror, Truth or Dare. As you can guess, the movie follows a group of friends whose game of Truth or Dare goes horribly wrong and they must keep playing the game or they'll die.
Truth or dare. Break Olivia's hand.
You have to do it.
Look, as pissed as I am at you right now, there's no way I'm gonna break your hand.
Well, you don't really have a choice. God, just do it.
The film comes from Blumhouse Productions, which has been a strong force in the horror genre since they came out with Paranormal Activity in 2009, and has recently hit its stride with well-received genre films like Get Out, Happy Death Day, Split, Creep, and so many more. There has been such a history of horror as a lowly viewed genre, almost embarrassing for actors to appear in, that it's been great to have some quality horror movies come out in recent years. And watching Truth or Dare, you can certainly see other films that have inspired it. Elements from It Follows, Final Destination, Saw, Urban Legend, Scream, as well as the movie's director, Jeff Wadlow's other film, Cry Wolf. I think there was too much influence from horror cliches and conventions. The movie had a hard time being a unique creation of its own, past its interesting premise, and I definitely thought they could have tried harder to go out of the box in this movie. It has a basic structure and one-dimensional characters, and I actually had a hard time at the start of the movie because I feel like they should have set up This group has likeable characters and a tightly knit group of friends, so we feel for their struggles and want them to survive. But really, from the start of the movie, I thought these were terrible people that I had no reason to be invested in. But I do think they got the casting right. The film stars Lucy Hale, who you'll know from Pretty Little Liars, Tyler Posey, who you'll know from Teen Wolf, and Violet Bean from The Flash. So they casted a lot of actors from teen shows, and the audience for this film is teens, so they're obviously relying on a familiarity with the actors to cross over to the characters, which I think is lazy. And I do think it cheats a little in terms of the rules it establishes to get the plot moving.
Truth. That's not how this works. Only the game decides.
Which I think made the movie a little generic. They could have been a bit more creative in that. And it is unfortunate because horror movies can really succeed when they have unique premises. I also didn't find the movie particularly scary. Obviously, the big thing it had going for it was the manipulated faces that they had. But it didn't really develop throughout the movie. It was always the same kind of face, so you kind of just got used to it. Speaking of the faces, they were heavily inspired by the Snapchat filters, and I thought that integrated the social media aspect of the film well, because so often horror movies have technology as something they have to explain away, like, oh no, my phone is out of service, kill me now. And they definitely didn't do that, and I like that. Ultimately, Truth or Dare is a stupid little horror movie, and I really wouldn't want it any other way. You can enjoy it if you know what you're going into and don't expect too much.
Truth or Dare.
In TV this week, the second season of The Handmaid's Tale has finally arrived. The show is available on SBS or its streaming service, SBS On Demand, and has been highly anticipated since its first season garnered so much critical and award success. The show is based on the 1985 book of the same name by Margaret Atwood and is set in a dystopian future where women are essentially owned by the government because the birth rate is so low. So the show follows the few women remaining that are fertile and forced to be sexual slaves or handmaids.
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
The series is led by Elizabeth Moss's character, June, who is one of the handmaids, and follows her as she tries to survive in this world and get back to her daughter who was taken from her when she tried to escape. The show has a great cast that features Yvonne Skravsky, Samara Wiley, Alexis Bledel, Anne Dowd, Madeline Brewer, and Joseph Fiennes, and many more. The show is so interesting to watch, especially when you look at the feminist movement of today compared to the world of The Handmaid's Tale. And something that I really thought really spoke to the position of power in this show is that the handmaids are actually have their names taken away from them and they're given the name of whoever owns them. So, for example, June is owned by this man named Fred, so her name is of Fred. If you're interested in shows that have a large female cast and look at feminist themes, this definitely could be the show for you. You can catch up on Season 1 on SBS On Demand, and the first episode of Season 2 is already available. Finally, this week's retro review was inspired by The Handmaid's Tale and its themes of feminism and men's power over women. So today I'll be talking about The Stepford Wives, the 1975 version, not the 2004. And it stars Captain Ross, Paula Prentice, and Peter Masterson, and is about Joanna, who has recently moved to Stepford, Connecticut with her family and starts to become suspicious when she notices all the women are sort of these perfect housewives and all the men are a part of this mysterious men's club. The movie has a lot of suspense as Joanna and one of the other women that has recently moved to Stepford, Bobby, start to notice this strange behaviour and become determined to find out what has happened to the women of Stepford.
I think the men in the association are behind it. And my time is coming.
I'm not going to spoil where the story goes, but I do think The Stepford Wives definitely has an interesting story of the nuclear family ideals and why the men choose to do what they do. And it also has some interesting parallels with The Handmaid's Tale that I found very intriguing. The Stepford Wives is such a good slow burn mystery thriller that I would definitely recommend, and it's definitely relevant here at the Morning Journal as we are an all-female team, but I definitely wouldn't want a Stepford Wives situation in our group. If you notice Rachel and Sarah starting to look like 1950s housewives, I'd get suspicious. But that's all for this week. See you next time for Entertainment Talk.
I love entertainment talk so much every week. Oh, gets me going.
I swear it's my highlight. It's just my highlight
Love
of
you,
the
Kate,
week.
if you're listening.
I can't say of the show because I love everyone here. But yeah, I do love watching entertainment talk.
How are you with horror movies?
Not great.
Yeah, either. Mm-mm.
I watch them
Big no-no.
in exceptions, like A Quiet Place.
John Krasinski.
Isn't he beautiful? And I've never seen him in that role either because I'm just like, it's Jim Halpert
I
from
know.
The Office. So yeah, it was bizarre to kind of see him in a horror movie, but he was so good.
Oh, I don't even know if I could do it for him. Just no to horror.
Truth or Dare does look really interesting, and I will not see horror movies in cinema. The only one I've ever seen in cinema was A Quiet Place.
How awkward. How did you eat popcorn? Like, can you no?
I didn't bring anything in with me because I was scared of just like throwing it halfway through. And then during because you can kind of lead up to the jump scare, so I would just like look away and make sure that I don't see any of that stuff. But I wait until they come out on Netflix to watch the horror movies, and I can sort of turn the volume down. In the cinema, you can't control that. Yeah.
And The Handmaid's Tale, oh my God, looks so good. But like, so emotional. Like, I don't have the emotional capacity to watch anything like besides Riverdale, so I don't know if I could get through it.
Yeah, I love Elizabeth Moss. She's so beautiful, and I watched her in Mad Men, and that's where I know her from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
See, I know her from Gilmore Girls.
Haven't
so
seen
it's so
Gilmore
weird
Girls.
to see her in like such a different light.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of other empowering women, we have a special guest today. We have Monique coming in to speak to us.
Hello, Monique. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
That's good. So Look, you're just incredible. We love having you as our Woman of the Week. You're 14 and you've written a book called My Discreet Bully. Do you mind just telling us a bit about your book?
Yeah, so I wrote the book when pretty much the whole story behind it was I just moved to a new school and I didn't know anybody. The first term was okay, I guess it wasn't the best, but like I got through it. And then the second term, I'd had a really bad fall down the stairs at the school and I had a really a bruised face, and I'd put it on social media about how I'd fallen down, and girls were screenshotting that and putting it in group chats. And then after that, I had started to see a psychologist because I was quite depressed and I had a really bad anxiety. And I saw my psychologist, and then I developed a really bad stutter for about 3 weeks due to the anxiety, so I couldn't talk at all. And that's when the book kind of evolved because the psychologist had told me to write down my feelings, and that's what happened. So yeah.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
what a story.
Social media is just,
I
feel like it's horrible now.
Yeah, what a turnaround.
Yeah.
Like, you should be really, really proud of yourself.
Yeah,
That's
you're
amazing.
It's just, I can't believe you've written a book. Like, it's just, it's inspirational, especially for young girls now who might be going through, something similar. But yeah, so how does it feel to know that your work is helping these young people?
It makes me really happy to know that since I had gone through such a negative experience and been able to turn it into a positive one and share my story with other young women, it makes me really happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do you think that adults could be doing to prevent bullying? Because obviously it happened at school. Like, is there something that teachers or parents can do to prevent their kids from feeling this way, or even like their kids from being the bullies? Like, is there certain things you think that
well,
needs to
from
be
the
done?
part of with parents and their kids being bullies, I feel like parents should always have like an open relationship with their kids, like always know their passwords, like all that kind of basic stuff. So I feel like if that's just like one simple step, it could make a big difference if they're knowing what their kids are doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What are you currently working on at the moment? Anything in the works?
Yep. So I'm currently working on a documentary with Channel 9, and I'm also just visiting schools at the moment and talking to children.
Yeah. Is the Channel 9 work a lot of fun, I imagine?
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah.
TV is a bit of fun.
I think any 14-year-olds can say they've got a doco going on in Channel 9. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've already achieved so much, but what sort of other things are you hoping to achieve?
I'm hoping to start going into international schools, so like going international, travelling and speaking to kids over there, because like it's all different kind of cultures, races, and there's all different types of bullying around the world. So yeah, I'd like to start talking to children overseas.
Yeah, and travelling is the silver lining part of that as well. You'll get to go to other countries and have a lot of fun.
And help people. Like, how amazing is that? Not just enjoy it for yourself.
But it's just It's really
In
incredible.
awe of you. Oh my God.
Absolutely. And you're being homeschooled as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is that to sort of free up the workload and your commitments?
So
to sort of go
after
overseas?
I got bullied, so that was in about May 2016. I haven't gone back to school since. So I did distance education, which is through the government for the first year, but this is my first year doing like actual a proper homeschooling. So it's kind of just so I can kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
I'll do like my 3-4 hours of schoolwork a day, and then I can just kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Yeah.
And
do some work.
Working with Channel 9 and wanting to do all of these extracurricular things, how do you balance your busy schedule?
I kind of make time for when I want to do, like say in the morning I'll wake up, do my schoolwork, get everything out of the way, then I'll kind of spend time answering emails, doing kind of work stuff, and then I kind of just have some time to myself. So I try to keep everything balanced.
Yeah. And that's the important thing. And it's good that homeschooling would definitely help with that. You'll be able to sort of spread out your time a bit more.
Can you tell us about how the bookmaking process happened?
Yeah, so after I'd kind of written everything down, what was the first thing I did? I found Illustrator. I found her through Instagram. Her name's Naren Barnett. She's really amazing. So she kind of drew the pictures based on what the story was about. So she did them, and then I found the printing company that I wanted to print with. So that took about 2 months trying to figure out how thick I want the paper, like all small little details. And then we put everything together, got an editor, and it kind of just evolved over time.
Yeah. And so where can the people watching the show find your book?
Yep, you can get it from www.getkind.net, or it's in a few bookshops around Melbourne.
Have you seen it in a bookshop
Yeah.
yet? Oh,
Yeah.
How amazing would that feel?
Yeah.
Did you like, I might buy
I
this
took
one?
photos with it.
Did you were there like people around? Were you kind of like just like,
I kind of just went in. I kind of just went in there with my mum. I was like, "Oh, it's my book. It's here."
Hey, Mum, look.
Yeah,
That must be such an incredible feeling though.
I know.
I'd
be like putting it in like mailboxes to my neighbours.
Yeah.
Just, like read this.
Yeah.
It's so good. I did it.
I think if I ever got work published, I would just immediately go to wherever it's published just so I can like see it.
Oh my
Just get that
goodness.
hard copy.
So I hear you've also got some merch. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
yeah. So recently, I released hashtag Get Kind merch, which is kind of like my little saying, "I get kind to my kindness" campaign. So I released that in hope that kind of everybody could kind of wear it and get the message spread. And yeah, so that's been about 2 months, and I've just been trying to just sell it and get people sharing my message.
Oh, beautiful. So what is it about your message that you feel like people will really like love and stuff?
Yeah, well, in today's society, it's kind of social media has taken it like with like heaps of expectations. You have to be this certain, this and everything like that. So I kind of wanted to make something where everyone can be involved, and you don't have to be some little model to wear it. You can be whoever you want to be, and just to try to get everyone to be confident in who they are.
Amazing.
Yeah. Get kind, those watching.
Yeah, get kind, people.
Yeah. We'll also add all of your links and things and where to find the merch on our social media, which is on Twitter and Instagram at The Morning Journ. Those watching. Yeah, go get yourself a shirt. I might have to get one for me.
How do you feel about social media? Sorry.
No, it's all good.
How do you feel about social media, like now that like you've had this experience and you've turned it around now?
Yeah.
Social media is like a positive for you.
Yeah. So I feel like it's really important to use social media in a positive way, which is kind of what it was meant to be made for, but it's kind of turned. But yeah, I just feel like if I keep on spreading a positive message, I can hopefully try and inspire other people to start doing the same. And start spreading positive messages all over social media.
Have you does it feel good to know that like you're seeing the change already?
Yeah. Makes me really happy to know that I'm putting in so much work and like there's some results coming out of it.
And I saw that your mum was outside before. She must be so proud of you with all this work.
She's cute.
She's your number one supporter?
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Sweet.
Love it. And like what's like one way that you feel like someone could deal with a bully? Like what's the best way to deal with it? Is it to go to the teacher or to keep quiet? Like, what's the best way?
I feel like the best way is to, first of all, speaking to your guardian or parents or someone that you can trust and getting them aware of what's happening. And if they can always offer you some advice, or if you feel like it's taken more seriously, you could take it to the school, most likely just telling your parents and seeing what they can give you advice on what to do next.
What type of advice did your parents give you about it?
So they always told me they used to always tell me when I was younger, if I was getting bullied, they'll say, "Oh, just be mean back." And I was like, "No, you're telling me to go. You're telling me to go against who I am." And when I was actually getting really badly bullied, they just said, "Just you're not the problem. It's usually the bullies that have their own insecurities of their own. So just know that it's not you, it's them." So yeah, that's what they gave
Well,
me.
I've actually found that, like, I know a couple of people who are actually teachers,
Yep.
and I've asked them, like, because I was considering teaching, and I asked them, like, how do you deal with students if they're bullying someone? Because you can't be
Yeah.
mean to them, you know, you
Yeah.
have to be nice to them. And she told me that, well, most of the time, these students who are bullying people, it all comes from home. Like,
Yeah.
I remember one lady at work actually came up to me, and I spoke to a little girl. She was so cute. And she was telling me that there was a girl in her class who was swearing. How does a kid in primary school learn
Yeah.
these words? It starts
Well,
from home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I think, when it comes to bullying, like,
Yep.
it's a learned behaviour.
And it comes from a sensitive place as
Yeah.
well. I was bullied in primary school, and I remember that we went to the school, and what they did was, how they handled the situation was, they put us in a room together with the principal, and we just said, right, how are we going to get along? Because I wasn't going to move schools, and and we sorted it out, and thank goodness that this girl sort of realised that what she was doing was wrong. And it was coming from a bad place, unfortunately, and it was a learned behaviour. So
I've been lucky that I've never really experienced bullying myself, but it's such a sad thing to see someone go through.
Yeah.
Is there sort of things that you feel bystanders can do if they see someone being bullied?
Yep. So, like, say if you're at school and it's like a group of friends and you see your friend getting picked on, I feel like the best thing to do is like stand up for them.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have that courage, tell a teacher or tell their parents or just tell somebody that could help in the situation.
Yeah, 100%. It's so sad to see how many people go through it though.
absolutely.
Well, with time for us, Jazz, you're going to stay here though, because I want your help in this. You know, I feel like you're knowledgeable. You know what you're talking about. So I've got Monique here, and I'm just going to read some tweets that I have. So if you do have any questions, you can just tweet us at The Morning Journal with the hashtag AskJazz for some relationship advice. So this first question comes from Tinge_dim. I hope I got that right. And they've asked me, I just can't tolerate some people and certain traits/habits people hold. How can I overlook these traits and be friendly without stepping on my pride? Thanks. Well, I feel like it's hard to ignore negative traits about people. It's really hard. It's not easy to forget that people can be really rude and have really negative parts of them. But I feel personally the best thing you can do is try focus on the good things about this person, especially if you have to have a relationship with them, whether it be through work or your friends or your uni friends or something. I feel like it's best to just try focus on the positive. And if you don't have a relationship with this person, just avoid them. Like, you don't have to be friends with everyone, I don't feel like. And especially if they're putting negativity on you, I think it's always good to put yourself first and be like, hey, you know, like, I don't like the certain thing that you do. How do you feel, Monique?
I agree 100%. I feel like if you do have, if it is like a meaningful like relationship, say friends or family, I guess you kind of just have to focus on the good things about them. But if it gets too much, then I kind of have to just move on from the person.
Yeah, you're the same, Rachel?
Yeah.
Well, I feel as if they have these sort of what this person thinks are bad qualities. You know, if it's just sort of like a pet peeve, like, they do this, you know, that's like, don't try to change them. But as soon as it's harming someone else or it's harming the person with the relationship with that person, then that's when you should maybe say like, hey, you could have said that differently, or maybe think about this before doing that again. I think that might be a way to sort of
do you guys
make them aware.
Like traits that you just don't like in a person? That certain things that people do that
unfortunately
really
quite a
upsets
few.
You?
When people are rude to my family,
Yeah.
I've had friends come over and they've just been like a little bit disrespectful to my mum or my brother, like either not respecting the house or just kind of like ignoring my family. And they're gorgeous people, you know, just chat to them. Obviously, you know, it's probably not intentional, but I just, when
Sometimes
people
forget.
when people sort of don't acknowledge others, that's something that I find quite frustrating. What about you?
This one's not like necessarily with people I know, but I don't like it when people don't say thank you.
Yeah.
Really, that one really gets me, because I think manners is the most important thing you can have. You know, you don't have to, just showing manners to anyone, like you don't have to know a person to be kind.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people don't say thank you or yes please, I'm like,
Yeah.
What about you? Any?
Well, one of the biggest ones is like if you like introduce yourself and you sound quite rude, which is like manners. I kind of really don't like that. Like I've just met someone. It's all about, I don't know, first impressions. I guess you could say.
100%.
So if you meet someone and they're really disrespectful, I don't like that.
Yeah. So this next one also comes from the same person at Tinge_dim, very popular. They must really like our show. They said, I know this is a tough one, but how do you distinguish where to draw the line between fun and business with work colleagues? I'm finding this a bit hard. And they also said, thanks, girls, loving the show, by the way, kiss, kiss.
Oh, fan.
I know.
Thank you.
Fans. I feel like it's always good to have fun with people you work with. Like, I don't think there's a point in work if you're hating it and you don't like the people you work with. You have to have fun. But I think the way to distinguish it is, I think a good way is like maybe keep on the job professional and then catch up with them outside work. That's where the fun is.
Yeah.
But I'm quite lucky where I work in a job where I'm good friends with all my work friends.
And it still is really important to have those relationships with your co-workers.
Exactly.
You know?
You're seeing them every day. Like, if you work full time, but you know.
Like obviously, going out clubbing with your boss isn't something that you should do.
Unless they're really cool.
Unless there's some like huge exception where they're like your brother or like best friend or something outside of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is important to have those relationships with your co-workers, you know? Like I love getting to know my co-workers outside of work.
Yeah.
And just going out for coffee or going out for drinks, and you get along better in the workplace by far.
I know that you've, like, with your new work with Channel 9 and stuff, how do you go about, like, because obviously that's a really professional place. Like, how do you still have fun and, like, have a joke around with the people there?
I was in Sydney about a week ago, and so pretty much I had coffee with Jo Abbey. She's, like, one of the reporters there.
Wow.
So that's kind of our time to just, I don't know, talk, and then we went up into the, like, offices, and that's when you kind of have to act a professional.
Yeah, so just keep it outside of work if you're really concerned about it, I think is a good way to go.
Yeah.
And our last tweet, and then we'll get to any questions you might have, is at the Morning Journal asked Jazz, my partner cheated on his last girlfriend. How can I trust he won't do the same to me? Okay, so I don't want to like scare you away if you're listening, which I presume you are, otherwise you wouldn't have asked. But anyways, once a cheater, always a cheater. You know, you hear those sayings all the time. I mean, like, all you got to do is look at Kourtney Kardashian and, no, not Kourtney, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan. You know, he cheated with his last partner who was pregnant.
In labour.
And then he cheated on her while she was in labour. That's awful, right? But I do think that people have the power to change. I don't think anyone's always a cheater. You know, I think that there are always good people in this world, and sometimes people do make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I feel like what you should do is talk to your partner, first of all, and ask him, like, hey, why did you do this? I feel like, not that cheating is ever okay, but I feel like if it's a reason, like, it was a really toxic relationship and I couldn't get out, then that's, like, okay, like, that's why you've cheated. But if it's something like, oh, I was bored, or, like, I couldn't commit, I think that's, like, a big caution sign, flashing red light, you know? I'm just going to talk about my relationship for a minute. Like, I have a very good relationship with my partner, and I think what makes it so good is the fact that we're very open and we know each other's history and past. Not that we've ever had anything bad happen in previous relationships, but it's good to know what they've been through, so that way you can communicate with them and tell them, well, okay, I've had this happen to me before, I don't want this to happen again, so they know where the line is. Because if you're with someone and you're like, oh, I don't really care what you get up to, they're going to push buttons and, you know. So I think it's important to know your partner, talk to them, be open with them. And then also, like, I feel like just trust your gut. I think we know deep down whether someone's a genuine person or not a genuine person. So if you feel like this guy is in it for the long run, then I reckon go for it. But if you feel like he's kind of got, like, you know, that kind of player sort of vibe, maybe just be a little bit more cautious. You guys have any input on that one?
I'm only 14, so there's kind of not much I can say about that. But
yeah,
for the future.
I think that
future tips.
I think that if this person is with them and loves them, then, you know, trust your gut.
Yeah, trust your gut.
Don't sort of doubt yourself, because then as soon as you have these concerns, like, you become very insecure in the relationship, and that's very dangerous ground. Yeah. I think that if you want to, you know, be in this relationship and you really love them, then just sort of throw yourself into it with a little bit of caution, but, like, just, you know.
Do you have any questions you might want to add quickly?
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment. We've answered everything.
Yeah.
No, we've been talking for too long.
No crazy friendships, work colleagues.
No, that's it. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And so where can we pick up your book again?
At www.getkind.net.
Oh, beautiful. Pick it up, guys. Support her. She's an amazing person. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was nice to meet you.
It was very nice to meet you. So lovely.
I've got to get myself a Get Kind shirt, I reckon, and wear it around uni all the time. It's just amazing.
And so I went to Supernova. So let's look at what I got up to at Supernova.
Exciting.
Hi guys, it's a beautiful day at the Melbourne Showgrounds today. We're here for Supernova, the annual expo celebrating all things pop culture. Supernova has been running since 2000 and brings in TV, movie, gaming and comic book fans from all over Melbourne. The expo offers a variety of celebrity guests that people can meet. Whether they want a signature or a photo, guests range from film and TV actors to comic book characters and cosplay artists. Supernova also has a number of events and activities that allow attendees to express their inner geek, from cosplay competitions to panel discussions and heaps of stalls that sell pop culture merchandise.
I'm selling wearable horns, and they're all my designs. I designed them on a 3D software, and then I 3D print them and hand paint them. There's a strangely high demand for horns, more than you would think. I think they feel like it's a funny thing to wear. It's like an impulse buy.
Year after year, thousands of people flock to Supernova, so we spoke with a few pop culture fanatics to see why they came to Supernova. Hi guys, so I'm here at Supernova with these three lovely ladies. Who are you guys dressed up as?
I'm dressed as Maki Harakawa from Danganronpa V3.
I'm dressed as Kaito Momota from Danganronpa V3 as well.
I'm dressed as Kokichi Oma from Danganronpa V3 as well.
So what's your favourite thing about Supernova?
Probably like meeting new people, because we only met her today, so probably making new friends and hanging around with them the whole day.
I am Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad in the clubbing scene. It took me 2.5 hours to do all the tattoos last night, and it took me an hour and a half for makeup, and the dress took me a few days to make. I guess it's just like a good escape. It's a really healthy hobby, and I think the crafting aspect for me is a really good escape from my busy everyday life. I just rocked up to a convention one day in cosplay, just because I felt like it. Now it's just part of my life. Yeah.
Hello.
Do you require assistance?
Sure. How are you today?
We are fine. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Your hand?
What's
that device?
It's a microphone.
Better not be a weapon.
No, it's just a...
Otherwise, you know what will happen.
But it isn't just celebrities that are the stars of Supernova. Attendees can also express their own creativity, with many guests showing up in cosplay, dressed as their favourite pop culture characters.
I've always liked making stuff, and I guess that's just a way for me to make stuff and go to these conventions and people love you for it. It's crazy, like it's a community.
It can take weeks for cosplayers to make their outfits, but it all pays off in the end when they come to events like Supernova and are celebrated for their passion and become a part of a community, making friends they never would have met otherwise. Jasmine, The Morning Journal. That was such a good day.
Oh, I wish I could have gone. I love Supernova. I've always looked at conventions like Comic-Con and that. When I was in America, I was trying to get tickets for the San Diego Comic-Con.
That would have been amazing because all the big stars go to that one.
It sold out so quickly.
Yeah,
I was up at like 3 a.m. trying to get tickets. But anyway, I love Supernova. I know my brother went.
Or maybe we saw him and we just didn't know it was him.
Maybe he was in the Dalek costume. I'm a Whovian. I'm a Whovian, which is like a Doctor Who fan.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who, and when that thing came up to me, what is it? A Dalek.
A Dalek.
I was certain it was something from Star Wars. I'm like, R2-D2. And then Kate actually said to me, she's like, oh, it's from Doctor Who. And I was like, right.
That's so cute.
That's really
I'm
really glad I didn't say, like, oh, how's, like, Luke
I've
Skywalker or
done
something
that
to the
before.
robot.
I've like gotten sci-fi things mixed up
Yeah.
because I haven't seen them. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings.
Neither
Sorry
have I.
if I offend anyone. Or Game of Thrones, but I've been meaning to see both for so long. I just don't have the time to watch them.
Well, I haven't seen Star Wars, and I feel like that's the first one you should watch is
that
always
is a
Star
good.
Wars.
It is a good one to watch. Yeah.
But I'm more of like a superhero nerd, so I was there like, yes, I know you. I know
haven't
who
seen
you are.
Infinity War yet.
I
so
actually
I'm
I saw it yesterday.
I can't.
A lot of feels.
I'm trying not to open social media because of the spoilers.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm like so excited to see that. I'm seeing it tonight. So
enjoy.
I'll probably need a debrief after I've heard it's pretty intense.
Oh my God, nah. I can't even. Can't
Yeah,
even.
It's intense.
It's
Anyway,
so intense.
We've got Scarlett with us now.
We do.
Hi, Scarlett.
Hi, how you going?
Good. We've got you on for the news recap.
Most certainly. And I'm actually speaking a little bit about the blockbuster Avengers Infinity War.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I have not
Do
seen
it.
it yet.
It looks so exciting. The trailer looks amazing. I'm just excited to see everyone in one movie.
Yeah. That was the highlight of it, just like the connections you saw, like forming.
Seeing everyone.
It was very cute. Very, very cute. But we'll let you get to it.
Well, first in breaking news, the AMP chairman, Catherine Brenner, has stepped down amid the can of worms that is the Royal Banking Commission. The AMP could potentially be facing criminal charges for its misconduct. Ms. Brenner says she was ultimately responsible for the failures of the AMP during the period of the misconduct, and her resignation is a step towards rebuilding the company's reputation. The blockbuster Avengers Infinity War is set to make $630 million on its first weekend, breaking the record for the highest global opening of all time. The all-star cast, including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth and Scarlett Johansson, is set to draw a huge crowds for its opening. In Melbourne, Flinders Street Station is opening a new Yarra entrance. A new wooden entrance was unveiled just this morning along the Yarra River. The entrance links directly to the Williamstown and Werribee lines, and the entrance is just one feature of the state government's $1 million Flinders Street revitalisation plan. The rugby league legend and repeat Australian captain Darren Lockyer is throwing his support behind the hashtag Do Something movement, which promotes respect for women. The campaign is centred around the bystander effect of disrespect and misconduct against women. Hashtag Do Something asks men to stand up and call out bad behaviour against women. Lockyer is also a member of the Domestic and Family Violence Implementation Council, and he says that nothing will change if bystanders did not take action. Good on you, Darren. And over the weekend, the world's oldest recorded spider died at the age 43 in Western Australia. The trapdoor matriarch has outlived her Mexican tarantula rival by 15 years. The spider was part of a research assignment through Curtin University and was started in 1974 by Barbara York Maine.
That is a really old spider.
Very old spider. I wonder how old they could actually live for, though, because this is the oldest recorded spider.
Yeah.
So
I've never heard of, like, I had no idea how long spiders lived for, but I did not expect, like, 40,
I thought they
50
lived for a couple
years.
of days, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, I'm just shook right now.
That is
I zoned out for a second, and then you said 40, 50 years. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Surely
40,
not.
50
Thanks,
Surely
Jazz.
not.
43
Sorry.
years, the spider. Yeah. Pretty old indeed.
Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you for the
Thanks
headline.
so much
No
for
worries.
that. And
I
I'll
love
be
seeing
cautious of all the spiders now,
Oh my
knowing that they
gosh.
live so long.
That just freaks. Like, what happens if there's one in your house? And like, I expect them to go away in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But
They don't.
what if it's like 40 years old and it just stays in my house for
It's
years
kind of
and years
cute,
and years?
but like a 40-year-old spider.
Yeah,
Aw.
that's true. It's
We've-
a conspiracy.
Speaking of, we've got Alicia here. Hello.
Hello,
Alicia.
Jasmine. Thank you, girls, for having me. I hope you're ready for a creepy theory. So, as you guys may know, the lead singer of Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, died in 1994, and it was ruled as a suicide. However, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories around this. People on the internet have just been talking. In recent years, even, although he died a long, long time ago, this theory just won't go away. And there has been a documentary dedicated to this theory, which is called Soaked in Bleach. And so pretty much the theory goes that a private investigator named Tom Grant was hired by Kurt Cobain's wife, who is Courtney Love, and he was hired to search for Kurt when he escaped from his rehab center. And Grant was now searching for Cobain's killer, and he had suspicions that Courtney Love may have been involved in it just because of the way that she was acting. There was a lot of voice recordings that led him to believe this. So it was said that Courtney and Kurt were having a lot of marriage problems. They were definitely on a rocky road, and she found out that he was planning to file for divorce. Now, this is just a theory, but it was said that he was planning to file for divorce and take her out of the will, which if she was out of the will, that meant that she would not get any money from Kurt if he would have died. If he died old or young, she wouldn't have got any money at all. So this was really hard because Courtney was allegedly, she was known for being obsessed with money, and she was very power hungry, and she just wanted to have all the money in the world. So this is why this whole theory had started, because Courtney just wasn't the loving type of person that you would think would support Kurt. And this is why everyone believed that she hired a hitman who injected heroin into his system and then shot him. So people believe that she had hired someone to do this to Kurt, that she didn't do it herself, but she hired someone. And Tom Grant also believes this, but he believes that it would have been physically impossible for Kurt to get the gun and to his head and pull the trigger with heroin in his system. So, and unfortunately, this case is yet to be reopened, and I have a feeling that it will never be. So now we're going to throw to a small clip from the documentary Soaked in Bleach.
No, I think, yeah, that's so interesting. I know a lot of conspiracy theories, but I didn't actually know that one about Kurt Cobain, and I actually didn't really know how he died either.
I didn't know he died.
So
that's okay.
But I'm intrigued now.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and like I'm just still sitting on the fence. I just don't know whether it would have been Courtney Love who actually hired a hitman or whether Kurt killed himself. It was said that he was very heavily involved in drugs. That's a well-known fact. And I believe that when people are involved in drugs, it can be hard to make a conspiracy theory of it, because that's just fact. If you're involved in drugs, you're ruining your life, and it's just going to happen. But then again, the way that Courtney was, especially if you watch that clip, the way that Courtney was, she was a very interesting person, not loving, very power hungry and money hungry. And I think she was with Kurt for the wrong reasons.
Very interesting. Thank you for joining us, Alicia, and sharing that with us. We look forward to hearing more from you.
No worries.
I love talking about conspiracy theories.
I'll be on next week. So.
They're always so interesting as well. Like they're just something you can't look away from, and you just keep watching and watching.
Gives me chills.
Well, other things you can keep watching. Everything on social media. Puppies.
Yes.
Cute kittens.
So jumping from like something really dark and
fluffy
twisted
animals
to the most adorable, pure little things in the world. So where did you go last week?
I went to Lord Smith. It's in North Melbourne. It's an animal hospital and a shelter. And they are the biggest animal hospital, certainly in Victoria. I'm not sure about Australia, but they're huge. They have just animals coming in all the time. They're open every day, including public holidays, until midnight. So just the effort there is incredible, and it was so much fun to go and have a tour. Kate and I both went. So we had a tour. We got to hold a kitten. Yeah.
So let's have a look at that little kitten. Okay.
Lord Smith's been around for 83 years now. It started first as a hospital for sort of the working poor, people that had horses, and horses were their main source of income, either it be transportation or carrying loads for them from produce elsewhere. And since then, over the years, it's developed into be Australia's largest not-for-profit animal hospital. And attached to the animal hospital is the shelter, and there's the community outreach programs as well that it runs. We're very proud to be here still after 83 years. I think we do a terrific job. It's all about keeping people together with their pets that maybe have limited means, and about the human-animal bond. So it's quite a privilege to work for an organisation like this. The animal is unfortunately the collateral damage, and it just gives them a second chance. And rescue animals, they're fantastic. They know they've been surrendered, and once they get into a new home and they settle in, they're usually the best pet you'll ever have. At the shelter at any one time, including what's available for adoption and what's coming up for adoption, it's usually about 20 to 30 dogs. And 70 to 100 cats at any one time. And then usually we have about another 100 animals in foster care. It's really important for people to rescue because a lot of animals, they haven't done anything wrong and they've ended up in a shelter through no fault of their own.
How cute.
So cute. That little kitten cub. I had to like stop myself from filling out adoption papers.
You should have just done it. Oh,
look,
you can't though. It's hard.
If I was living alone, I would have.
You'd be housing
and
like so many.
Him, Minty, Bella, like they would all have been adopted from me being there. They were just gorgeous.
Mother
and
Rach.
Me. Just watch this space. In 10 years, I'll just have like 20 dogs and all sorts of animals.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's so important to support our local shelters, and Lord Smith just do an absolutely incredible job. It's something that needs to be talked about more, and people are doing a lot to help, which is amazing. I know that there are stores now, pet stores in Australia that are no longer stocking puppies or kittens. They have adoption days, as they call it, where they bring in animals from local shelters, and so they'll give aside like the Saturday or something to families come in and meet these shelter animals for adoption, which is amazing. I think this is a really good idea. Puppy farms, like, they've just got to go. I can't stand them.
I don't know much about puppy farms. I thought that was like where you were supposed to go for dogs.
No, these are like factories.
Oh, okay.
Where they have caged dogs that basically
they just breed them.
That's and awful. They don't get a family. They don't get a loving home, and it's horrifying. It's horrifying that this is still in practice around the world.
What about like euthanasia? Like I know you know a fair bit about that.
Yes. So when I was in the United States, I did a photography body of work on shelter animals.
Oh, that would have been beautiful to work on though.
It was amazing meeting these owners and these animals as well, for the ones who hadn't been yet rescued. And so I was working with a shelter called Priceless Pets, which was a no-kill shelter. They have kill shelters and no-kill shelters in America.
There should just be no-kill shelters
What
ever.
they do is they rescue animals from the kill shelters. Okay. So they will try and save these animals from the euthanasia list. But unfortunately, in the United States, there's 2 million animals in shelters, and let me just get the statistic. And in Australia, there is... I don't have the statistic.
That's all right.
About
We've only got about 10 seconds left of the show.
About 39,000 of these are rehomed. So it's really important to support your local shelters.
So support your local shelters.
Yeah.
That's the main message, I think. Support your local shelters. Be kind. And that's all we've got for this week's show.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.